One altcoin, Tori trades, and I believe will 10x. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, where we keep technical analysis short and sweet. And I have not talked to Tori Trades, just trying to collaborate. So trying to get some attention, and hopefully she gets the video. But Bitcoin had that major pullback, right? It's something to be expected. Keep that 200 EMA nice and close. This is on the daily, and we have this upward trend line built here. It's nothing in solid because we do not have the close on this downward candle. But with Bitcoin, this one is for metal detecting England. Jasmine, that's what he wanted to see. So Jasmine had that major pullback. It can go a lot higher, as we have seen, around 36 cents. But ultimately what we are working within is this wedge right here. We have the 200 EMA as the pressure pushing this downwards. We don't want to see it go below this upward trend line. However, if we do, we can expect a further retracement. In the altcoin season, almost everything has a tendency to go up. So if we do see some support off of this upward trend line, we could expect it to start pushing up towards this downward trend line. If we can break that, we'd have 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth touch breaking this wedge, and we could expect the push to go up to around 0.039 or 4 cents. And when you're looking at that, if you're waiting for entry or if you're trapped, that is about 100% retrace if you are trapped somewhere up here. Moving on to, what was it, metal? Zephyrus wanted to see metal. Some pretty crazy chart. I actually looked at this a little bit. What's very concerning to me is this day, Tuesday, the 23rd of August, 2022. So essentially our all-time high is up here for one day at $50. The low is where roughly we are currently at. What could you expect? You could do a Fibonacci retracement from the absolute high, but it's not very likely in my opinion. And the 618 is right here around $30 from 36 cents. I believe it was anywhere from 7,000 to 11,000. There's not a whole bunch of information to be going off of on metal. Is that a possibility? Anything is possible within crypto, but it is building a little support. Ultimately, you want to be getting over this downward trend line that it is starting to build. You need to get over that, and you can start potentially seeing some upward momentum if we are closing above this previous high. Not a whole bunch of information on metal, but I figured I would cover it for you, Zephyrus. And then let's go to Spell. Somebody asked about Spell a long time ago, and it broke that downward wedge area with Bitcoin's retracement. That is why we do not have an entry until we get over that 200 EMA on the daily, which would ultimately be breaking this downward trend line. There's no reason to be entering into Spell. Aerodrome. This is one that I personally brought up, working within this downward wedge here, and is still above that 200 EMA. I don't have RSI placed in on this, but we are getting a little wick off, showing that we are trying to close a little bit higher, hopefully above this previous low, and then you can start seeing that push up towards this downward trend line yet again, and if that breaks, it can start creating a new all-time high. No one asked for this one, but I kind of shovel this one at you guys. 41.66. I've been stating anywhere around 45 to 40 is a good potential area to enter. Major pullback with Bitcoin pulling back, which is as expected. That's why you don't have a stop loss in that area, even though it's necessary. Most of the time, crypto has a tendency to liquidate a lot of people, grab a bunch of cash, a bunch of sell-offs, and there are clearly a bunch of buyers within this area, which we had talked about in a previous video. We had that major push up. We could see this push back up into this upward trend line, and ultimately we just got to get over that 200 EMA and this downward trend line, but the all-time high is nearly $1,000 for compound. Oh, it's even higher, sorry. 956 or 926, currently at 41. Wait for the 200 EMA and that downward trend line. QNT. Oh, Aaron, no, dude. I'm sorry, man. If you're freaking out, yeah, it's don't freak out. We're testing to see if we can get below this lower low. Ultimately, Bitcoin's going to be pushing upwards, and QNT will be following suit. It has to do this long consolidation period. This line is irrelevant, and we could do an upward trend line from here. See if we can hold some support off of that. But nothing is in place for sure. We got to see a daily close. We could see this pull back depending on what Bitcoin is going to be doing. But don't freak out. Don't sell at your $7,000 loss. Hold. QNT will rip. As with any pump, like we saw, where you had the opportunity to get out twice, there's always pullbacks, and a lot of the time in crypto, the pullbacks happen more brutally than the pumps. Pumps happen once in a while, but the pullbacks happen more often, and they freak a lot of people out. It could be down 30%, and then it pulls up over 125% over the next couple weeks. Hold on to your bag. This ride's not over. Ultimately, there's a lot of lines in here. This is the downward trend that we are following. And this would be the other downward trend that we need to really break in order to start seeing that upward momentum. So breaking out of this channel, we would be playing within this area, but breaking this downward trend line is ultimately what we need to do before we can start seeing it push higher and closing above this previous high. BNT. And then Moon Slothicus for DNT, and I'll toss in a couple others, but I'm going to keep this video short. Everything is bleeding out. BNT as well. It broke out of its downward trend line, but I believe we're going to get some support off that 200 EMA, push it back up within this trend, and then play it out to start that upward momentum with Bitcoin. XYO. We had McClaw and Jonathan Colby asking about XYO. I still believe XYO is going to have a major pump. It is a very, very strong consolidation. There's a lot of stuff on this chart that is useless, but what we can see, we have this upward trend line, not drawn, a downward trend line, working within a wedge, needing to get over a 200 EMA. There's no RSI on here, but we are still building higher lows bit by bit. And when we add in everything, there's that triangle trend line we are dealing within. And we ultimately want to be staying anywhere above 0.00871. Even with that pullback, I believe we're probably going to see a little bit of support here. We could see that liquidity grab with what Bitcoin may do. I believe we are going to still be working within this wedge, trying to get over that 200 EMA. The longer the consolidation, the higher it'll pump, and XYO has been absolutely ruthless in the past, and I believe we're going to start heading up towards that 25 cent? 9 cent? What's up here? 8 cent. 8 cent high. Dropping a zero is massive. We are currently almost at dropping that zero, but that move up will be phenomenal once we get over that 200 EMA. DNT for Moon Slothicus, same thing with XYO. Long consolidation. Both XYO and DNT are built up to the max. We see that it was breaking out of this triangle that I had placed. Ultimately, this green line moving upward is what we want to stay above. We can remove this line. Oops. Get rid of that. And if we can hold support here, it is looking better. But ultimately, it's testing this 200 EMA many times. It needs to break over this downward trend line and then ease up over that 200 EMA before it can ultimately take off to its next level. And what else? BCH and CTSI. That was a good one. What's happening with CTSI? Pullback. Everybody who's freaking out, this is typical. Right whenever you see a green candle for a turnaround, everybody starts throwing their money in, thinking it's going to go forever. And then you have a pullback, but nothing to worry about for CTSI. Ultimately, we can be testing these black downward trend lines. That's a possibility. But as long as we get over that 200 EMA and can hold, we can start seeing some upward momentum. I'm sure there's some political news or something that happened where there's a pullback, but that's kind of what's happening with the market, just with Bitcoin having its pullback. Let's see if there's any update. What's new? Wipeout of 600 million. Longs liquidated. Yeah, gathering cash. That's what Bitcoin does. So with Bitcoin liquidating the longs and then allowing money to start flowing in, similar with the rest of the market, you start seeing those pullbacks, and it's nothing to be worried about. It's called a healthy retracement. So that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't. References to trade, Tornado Cash, MEXC, and all that in the description below. And good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.